Hey guys, this is Frenzy91 and I'm bringing you back. Yeah, thank God. Hey, I got back safely from my trip. Black Friday was completely chaotic, but I got some good games for some decent prices, so it all was worth it in the end. Even got a TV for like 98 bucks, so 32-inch, so pretty good. Anyway, I'm here to talk about Nintendo, why Nintendo actually is needed. The thing is that everybody's kind of on this whole thing about what Jason Rubin, yeah, Jason Rubin. And basically what he said was that Nintendo is irrelevant as a hardware. Well, actually, let me just repeat exactly what he said. Nintendo is irrelevant as a hardware manufacturer in the console business right now. Okay? I'm not actually here to talk about that particular statement, as I'm more here to talk about why Nintendo is actually needed as a hardware developer or hardware manufacturer. Because what he basically said, let me kind of explain the statement a bit. Most people think he said, "Oh, Nintendo sucks. Let's just get it out there." He actually tried to redeem himself later by saying that before the hate mail comes in, I will say to whichever camera is on right now, a worldwide treasure Nintendo is. There is no or a worldwide treasure Nintendo. There is no developer that will ever be Shigeru Miyamoto, or just Miyamoto. I hope I'm saying that right. I think it's Miyamoto. Anyway, it is a crime that we do not play those games on the systems that we have. Now, he's both giving Nintendo a compliment and dissing it at the same time. Let me explain how. Basically, this is how he's doing it. What he's saying is that Nintendo makes great games. It's a shame that we don't play them on the systems we actually have, which means it's a shame that we don't play them on the PlayStation, the Microsoft, Xbox One. But what he's also saying is that Nintendo doesn't make sense as a hardware manufacturer right now, which means that they should just make games. He's kind of saying what people have been saying for months, that Nintendo should go just software only and shouldn't make hardware anymore. Now, let me explain why that is a load of crap. Nintendo, when it comes to hardware development, are the most innovative out of all three of the current systems, okay? Let me say it this way. If we go back to Super Nintendo times, now whether you like Nintendo or not, you can't deny their innovation when it comes to their own hardware, as opposed to the other consoles who tend to keep it very safe with innovation when it comes to hardware. By hardware I mean controllers, and basically that's almost basically just it, other than the console itself, what the consoles can do. Now, when it comes to controllers, Nintendo kills, okay? You go back to SNES, and the original Super Nintendo controller is what most controllers nowadays base their pattern on. And what I mean by that is, like, look at the Xbox 360 controller, look at the PlayStation controller all the way up from PlayStation 1 onward, and where the 4 buttons are is basically just a modified version of where they were on the Super Nintendo and controller, and that really just showed how other companies copied it. Now, actually, Sony, one of Sony's guys, I can't remember which one, and I really can't remember where the article is, because that's a really old article. It came out before, I think it came out when Sony came out, like a month ago or a couple weeks back. And basically, one of the guys at Sony, one of the head guys at Sony, said that that Sony actually needs Nintendo to actually be successful. And I was thinking, why? And I'm like, I actually said it as a joke, kind of, because if Nintendo's not successful, who would we have to copy? And it's kind of a joke, and I'm half serious about that, because honestly, Sony and Microsoft, you gotta be honest. Even if you're an Xbox fanboy or a Sony fanboy, they copy Nintendo, okay? Now, every console copies each other, but Nintendo, I feel, has been copied the most out of anybody else. Even if you look back at the Wii. Honestly, I was one of the people who, even though I owned a Wii, I was one of the people who was like, man, this Wii really does. I mean, why would Nintendo go that way? That controller, look at that. It looks like a remote controller I'd use for my TV. Then I played the Wii and I'm like, okay, this is greatness. Okay? But that was innovation. And Nintendo has always been about innovation when it comes to their hardware. And whether it's been successful or not, and a lot of times it hasn't been, honestly. It hasn't been like, I don't even know what it was called. Those old 3D glasses that you used to wear that hurt your eyes. That used to, they look like binoculars, and they're supposed to be like Nintendo's first shot at 3D, and it was not successful at all. It kind of sucked. But it still showed innovation where other people's were not willing to innovate. And with that, the whole them not having anybody to copy if Nintendo doesn't do well, it actually does, especially with because think of it, even with last generation, and yes, it is last generation now. It's officially last generation, the Wii 360 and the PS4. With them even, Nintendo first comes out with something risky. They come out with motion controls for almost all their games. And everybody's like, at first, everybody else is dissing it. And I told you I was one of those dissers. And what happens? It becomes so successful that Microsoft and Sony both copy it. Sony more literal. I mean, the Move is just a real basic copy of the Nintendo Wii remotes. When at least Xbox went a little bit further with the Kinect. But in all honesty, they still copy Nintendo with that. And now, with the Wii U gamepad, I love how people are like, it's a gimmick, it's a gimmick, it's a gimmick. All of a sudden, the other systems copy it, and they're like, oh, well, actually, it looks good now. And I'm like, that's just fanboys, that's fanboyism, okay, right there. And I don't mean they literally copied it by giving us controllers with a screen on it, even though PS4 does have a touchpad on it. What I mean is this. The second screen is now being used in a lot of games that are coming out for PS4. Like, let's go with The Division, and with like Call of Duty even, and Battlefield 4. You can play games with the second screen. It's not the main thing, but they're actually using it for the next gen consoles. And I'm like, okay, on the one hand you're saying that it sucked for Nintendo, but when PS4 and Xbox One use it, okay, it's great. But technically they're still copying Nintendo's original idea of having a second screen that can do other things. Even in Battlefield 4, whether it's just command mode, or in Call of Duty, whether it's just clan mode, or how the Division plans to use it as like the person in the gunner or the air vehicle, or how yeah, I mean, Ubisoft even admitted that, or even Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs is big on the second screen as being used as multiplayer. Now, Ubisoft actually admitted that with what was it? Like, you can use the second screen, I think, in Watch Dogs to hack into the cameras. Now, Ubisoft admitted that they got used to second screen play by having a lot of their games on the Wii U. In fact, that seemed like a big motivation for them to put their games on the Wii U, because they realized that second screen gameplay was going to be a big thing. They're like, we need to get used to it. Let's get Wii U games out there so we can use this second screen gameplay. And it was actually very smart. And EA, people who dissed Nintendo like crap, okay, initially, are now using second screen for a lot of their games as well. I'm not sure if Rivals uses it. I think they do, but I know that Battlefield 4 uses it for its command mode, okay? So, Nintendo is relevant as a hardware because Nintendo comes up with the most innovative ideas that even if they come up with ideas, and they come up with them so often, when it comes to hardware, I'm not talking about software, because honestly, Nintendo, with software, they're really safe. They're like Zelda, Mario, and stuff like that. I mean, it's true, even with those, even when they use those, they come out with a lot of, like, Super Mario 3D World. That's a very innovative way to play Mario. And, even though it's the same game. Okay? So, Nintendo is needed. Why? Because everybody else copies them. They copy them with their innovation with hardware. Nintendo is needed even just so that Microsoft and Sony won't simply keep the hardware the same forever. So that they can look at Nintendo and be like, okay, Nintendo did this, now let me modify it, upgrade it, make it better, and even though technically I'm copying Nintendo, it looks a lot better. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, it's true that all of them copy each other, okay? All of them do. But Nintendo, I feel, mostly because Nintendo seems to think outside the box more than any other system, and they seem to take more risk more than any other system. Why do they do that? Because they have more money than any of the other systems. I like how in the same video, which I will have a link of in the bottom, Seamus Blackley, I think I'm pronouncing that name right. It's like Seamus Blackley. Okay. He says that Nintendo is basically Disney, okay? And it is. It's basically Disney of the gaming realm. Why? Because they have so much money. They can do a lot of things. They can take so much risk that the other consoles can't take because they don't have much money. Now, this may change in the future. Maybe Sony and Microsoft, maybe with these new systems, they will get cash reserves like in the 3 billions or in the 5 billions. I think Nintendo right now has it in the 6 billions. So maybe they'll get cash reserves in the billions and they can try stuff because they have money to back it up. But for now, Nintendo is the only one that has enough money in cash reserves to risk things that are going to be fails and keep on going. Okay? So, Nintendo is needed. It is still relevant. It is very much needed. And I think that is actually partly why one of the head guys at Sony said that they need Nintendo to be successful. Nintendo, when it comes to hardware, they're dead innovative. Okay? So, thanks for listening to my little rant here. And I just, thanks for watching. We'll see what happens in this next generation. Like, comment, subscribe, and God bless.